Okay, so let's picture this. London, 1977. You've got this really quiet working class area in Enfield.
Yeah, rows of council houses, pretty standard stuff. Neighbors know each other.
Exactly. Kids playing out in the street, people chatting over fences.
Mm.
Just seems totally normal, right? On the surface, anyway.
hmm
But inside one specific house, well, something deeply unnatural was apparently getting started.
Right.
And look, we should say up front, this isn't just another ghost story someone cook up. This is really a true account, arguably one of the most chilling and definitely one of the most documented hauntings, poltergeist cases, really, in modern history.
Yeah, that documentation is key, isn't it? What makes this deep dive so fascinating, I think, is just the sheer number of different witnesses.
Right.
It's not just the family saying, this happened. You've got, well, police officers involved, neighbors, journalists who are actually there inside the house.
Even proper paranormal investigators.
Exactly. Seasoned investigators who basically moved in for years, some of them. So our mission here really is to dig into what actually went on at 284 Green Street and try to understand why this case, even now, is still so gripping, so hard to just explain away.
And at the center of it all was the family living there, the Hodgsons. Peggy Hodgson, a single mom.
Yeah, raising 4 kids on her own.
Margaret, who was 12, Janet, 11, Johnny was 10, and little Billy, just 7. Pretty typical family life until that one night, August 1977.
That's when it all kicked off.
That's the moment everything changed.
Yeah.
So how did it start? I mean, it wasn't full-blown chaos immediately, was it?
No, not at all. It began more subtly, weird knocks on the walls first, then scraping sounds, mainly in the kids' bedroom.
Okay.
And then Janet and Margaret, the 2 older girls, they started complaining their beds were shaking. Violently, they said.
Right, which, you might initially put down to kids being kids. But Peggy, the mom, she didn't stay skeptical for long, did she?
Not at all. Her skepticism completely vanished, really, when she saw something herself, this heavy wooden chest of drawers. It just started sliding across the bedroom floor, all by itself.
Wow.
And she tried to push it back, right? But it wouldn't budge easily, like something was pushing against her. And then it suddenly moved again and almost pinned Janet against the wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that direct physical threat, that's when the real panic set in. She grabbed the kids and ran straight out to the neighbors.
Understandably. And these neighbors, Vic and Peggy Nottingham, they didn't just dismiss her, did they?
No, they went in. They went into the house themselves, and they heard it too. Loud knocks, rhythmic knocks apparently, echoing through the place.
So they confirmed it wasn't just Peggy imagining things.
Exactly. And it was enough that they felt they had to call the police.
Which brings us to the police involvement. How significant is that, really? Does having cops witness this stuff lend it more credibility?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a crucial turning point in the whole story. Because police officers, they're trained to be objective.
Right, look for rational explanations, trickery.
Precisely. They're not looking for ghosts. And we actually have a signed statement from one of the officers who responded, WPC Carolyn Heaps.
Okay.
She stated on record that she watched an armchair, I think, move several feet across the floor. Nobody was near it.
She saw this herself,
Uh-huh.
a police officer.
Yes. And her statement explicitly says she checked for wires, for tricks, anything obvious, found nothing. Her conclusion, no wires, no tricks, no explanation.
That's pretty incredible. A sworn statement.
It's incredibly significant. Getting that kind of independent confirmation from law enforcement in a paranormal case, that's extremely rare. It makes the whole thing much harder to just brush off.
Yeah, I can see why. So it's no wonder the story just exploded after that, right?
Yeah.
Reporters, photographers descending on the house.
Oh, completely. It became a media sensation almost overnight. Everyone wanted a piece of the Enfield Poltergeist.
And all that attention, that eventually led to the Society for Psychical Research getting involved, the SPR.
That's right. They're one of the oldest organizations in the world dedicated to investigating these kinds of phenomena.
A serious group, then.
Very serious. They sent 2 of their main investigators, Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair. And the key thing here is they didn't just pop in for an afternoon.
No, you mentioned they basically lived there.
For months, yeah. They essentially embedded themselves with the Hodgson family, setting up equipment, observing constantly, experiencing things firsthand.
Which must have given them a unique perspective, surely.
Totally. It allowed for incredibly detailed long-term documentation, and what they documented was, well, beyond belief for many.
Like what? What kind of things were they seeing day to day?
All sorts. Furniture levitating off the floor, toys flying across rooms, apparently with really terrifying speed and force.
Flying toys.
Yeah, Lego bricks, marbles, things like that. Also, sudden, unexplained cold winds rushing through rooms even when windows and doors were sealed shut. Heavy objects just being hurled through the air.
It sounds relentless.
It seems like it was a constant barrage of strange and often frightening activity.
And it seemed like, as things escalated, young Janet became even more central to it all.
Yes, definitely. Janet, just 11 years old, she really became the sort of focal point for the most intense phenomena.
How so?
Well, she started entering these really strange trances, and when she was in them, her voice would change completely.
Change how?
It became this deep, rough, guttural sound, almost like an old man's voice, clearly absolutely not her own.
And this voice?
Yeah.
It spoke.
Oh, it spoke a lot. It claimed it was someone called Bill Wilkins, and it said that he had died in that house years before the Hodgsons moved in.
Okay, that's incredibly specific. Creepy.
Right. And the investigators, Gross and Playfair, they recorded hours and hours of this.
They have tapes of this voice.
Yes. Hours of audio. You can hear it growling, shouting, sometimes even this cruel, horrible laughter. It's pretty disturbing stuff to listen to.
I bet. What does having those recordings mean, though? Does it help counter the inevitable skepticism?
Massively. Because it's tangible evidence. You know, it's not just someone saying, I heard a weird voice. You can actually listen to it.
Right.
And later on, medical experts listened to these tapes. Their conclusion was that it seemed physically impossible for a young girl, for any child, to produce those kinds of deep, rough sounds for such extended periods without doing serious, permanent damage to their vocal cords.
And Janet's voice was fine afterwards.
Apparently so, which is hard to explain medically. But the really compelling part, the corroboration.
Medine.
The investigators and later other researchers, they did some digging, they checked public records, and they found him.
Found who? Bill Wilkins.
Yes. They found records confirming that a man named Bill Wilkins had actually lived and died in that house, 284 Green Street.
You're kidding.
Not at all. And according to the records and what the voice claimed, he died of a brain hemorrhage. Alone, sitting in a chair downstairs.
Exactly as the voice described.
Exactly. Now that is fascinating. How could Janet, an 11-year-old girl in 1977, possibly know those specific details about a previous occupant who died years earlier? The name, the cause of death, the circumstances?
Yeah, that's a tough one to explain away as just a hoax.
It really is. It's one of the strongest pieces of evidence suggesting something genuinely anomalous was happening.
So for the family, especially the kids, this must have just been an ongoing nightmare. Beyond the voice, there was still all the physical stuff happening.
Oh, constantly. Beds shaking violently at night, doors slamming shut on their own, objects flying across rooms became almost commonplace. They reported seeing dark shadows moving along the walls. Just relentless terror, really.
It wasn't just spooky noises, it was physical.
And sometimes violently so.
Yeah.
There are reports, multiple accounts actually, of Janet being physically affected.
Like how?
Like being apparently lifted out of her bed by unseen hands and thrown across the room. This supposedly happened more than once.
Thrown across the room.
That's the claim, witnessed by others in the room, apparently. And remember those flying Lego bricks?
Yeah.
Well, one incident involved a photographer who was there documenting things. A Lego brick flew across the room at, quote, incredible speed and hit him right in the face. Drew blood.
Good grief. So this wasn't subtle stuff anymore.
Not at all. It was becoming dangerous. And importantly, it wasn't just the family seeing it.
Right, we keep coming back to that. The neighbors, the police.
The reporters, the investigators, all these different people witnessed different pieces of this puzzle with their own eyes over a long period.
So it really moved beyond being just, the Hodgson family's weird story.
Exactly. It was a full-blown nationwide phenomenon by this point. Everyone in the UK knew about the Enfield Poltergeist.
But of course, with that level of attention comes scrutiny. There was skepticism, right? People who thought it was all fake.
Absolutely. There was, and still is, a strong skeptical viewpoint. The main argument was always that the girls, particularly Janet and maybe Margaret, were faking it all for attention.
How did they think they were faking it?
Various ways. Knocking on walls themselves, moving small objects with hidden strings, maybe even rigging things up. And some of the photographic evidence, well, it didn't help matters.
Looks like what?
There are famous photos of Janet apparently levitating, horizontal above her bed.
Yeah, I've seen those.
To a skeptic's eye, though, they look an awful lot like she's just jumping off the bed, caught midair by the camera flash.
Okay, I can see how people would say that. It looks kind of like bouncing.
It does, and that fuels the argument that maybe everything could have been faked with enough ingenuity and, frankly, desire for attention.
And didn't Janet herself admit to faking some things years later?
She did, yes. That's a crucial point. In interviews much later in life, Janet admitted that, yes, they did fake some incidents. She estimated maybe 2%. She said they did it sometimes when investigators were there, almost to see if they could catch them out, or maybe when nothing else was happening and they felt pressure.
So admitting any faking complicates things, doesn't it?
No, it definitely muds the waters. If they faked some things, the argument goes, why not all things?
Right.
But Janet and others involved have always been adamant. She swore the vast majority of it. The really intense stuff, the voice, the levitations witnessed by others, the objects moving violently, that was absolutely real, not faked by them.
So how do we square that? The admission of some fakery versus the insistence that most of it was genuine. And what about the evidence that seems harder to fake?
Exactly. That's the core dilemma of Enfield. Even if you accept they faked a few minor incidents, how does that explain everything else? How do you explain the consistent testimony from, well, dozens of independent witnesses over nearly 2 years?
The police officers seeing the chair move.
Right. Or the neighbors hearing the knocks initially. Or the investigators documenting phenomena day after day. And what about the Bill Wilkins voice? The medical impossibility.
And the details about his death she couldn't have known?
Precisely. Those specific verifiable facts about Bill Wilkins remain incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to explain away as just a child's prank. The hoax theory struggles to account for that kind of corroborated detail.
So it leaves these big unanswered questions hanging over the whole case.
Definitely. It challenges any simple, easy explanation.
How long did it all last in the end? When did things finally calm down?
The intense activity went on for quite a while, really, from late 1977 all the way through to early 1979, so nearly 2 years of this.
Wow, that's a long time for a family to endure that.
An incredibly long time. Then gradually the phenomena seemed to fade away. Things just got quieter. The house eventually fell silent again.
Did the family stay there?
Peggy and Billy stayed for a while longer, I believe. The older girls moved out as they got older.
But it must have left a lasting impact, surely.
Oh, undoubtedly. The scars, as you might call them, remained. Janet, in particular, has rarely spoken publicly about it over the decades.
Understandable.
But when she has, she's always been consistent. It was real. She famously said, "It wasn't us, it was something beyond us." That's been her stance all along.
And the house itself, 284 Green Street, it's still there.
Yes, it's still standing. Just looks like any other house on the street now. Completely ordinary from the outside.
But for anyone who knows the story,
for anyone who knows the history, who knows what was reported within those walls, yeah, it'll probably never seem truly ordinary again.
So after laying it all out, the eyewitnesses, the recordings, the police reports, the skepticism, the unexplained details, where does that leave us? What really happened in that house?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it, in the end, just a highly elaborate, long-running hoax by kids who got caught up in something, maybe desperate for attention?
Or was it something else?
Or was it genuinely one of the most intensely active, thoroughly documented cases of real paranormal phenomena, poltergeist activity ever recorded? Something that forces us to consider possibilities beyond our current understanding of, well, everything.
The truth? It feels like we might never know for sure, definitively.
Maybe not. The absolute, undeniable truth might just be elusive in cases like this. Too much time has passed, the lines are blurred.
Yeah.
But perhaps, perhaps the walls of that little council house in Enfield still remember what went on. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a hint of something waiting there in the quiet. Something that reminds us the world might be stranger than we think.